Come on, there you go.
Takes the snap. He has time.
He's got outside touch and throw. Leaping left. Touchdown. Touchdown.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Valentine's Day edition of the PackerBacker News Podcast with Ken and Ken in the morning. And just for all the you Packer fans out there that are watching, happy Valentine's Day. All you need is love, baby.
Oh, my God. And so we can say we also got Dominic, Dirty Bird, LeBron, representing the Dirty South.
Morning, everybody.
And, of course, my partner in crime on every Saturday and Sunday, Mike, the Bear fan. There we go. Throwing some Bears love up in there. Throw it going back up, Mike. Was it a Berry Valentine's Day? There we go. Oh, freaking standing. Yeah, don't forget, fellas, this is going to be your public service announcement. It is now 10 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time. You still have time to go get flowers or candy or a cake or something for your that special lady or person in your life so you don't end up in the doghouse today. FYI, you got some time. And no, getting her a Packers jersey or a Bears jersey probably does not count. It may count, but
depending on who you got, that could be the perfect gift.
It may count, but odds are, get her something she wants. If you're a Packer fan, I should say get him something he wants. But
hey.
But hey, not much happening yesterday in the world of the NFL. It was a pretty slow day for the Monday after the Super Bowl or Tuesday after. What day is it? Wednesday? Tuesday after the Super Bowl. We've had 2 days post Super Bowl, and really, there's been no player movement. No one's actually been cut yet. No one's actually been re-signed by their team yet. We haven't seen any big coaching hires or any coaching hires, staff or otherwise, the last 2 days. And it's kind of rare. It reminds me of the June 1st letdown last year, right? June 1st is usually the day you get all the salary cap cuts. And last year, I think we had like one, And so it's been pretty slow in the NFL. I guess everyone's still hung over from the Taylor Swift Bowl, the Super Bowl. But I will say this because I have seen this popping up all over. This happens every year around the Super Bowl. So, the soccer community, the football community, they make fun of the NFL, American football community, asking which is bigger, the Super Bowl or the World Cup. And, of course, this year had a bunch of fans who probably have a collective IQ of 2 talking how American football is the biggest sport in the world, blah, 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 blah. Well, this Super Bowl had the biggest audience in the history of the Super Bowl. I think it was like 152 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, your average World Cup final is 1.5 billion viewers.
Hey,
just to put that out there.
Give us some time. We're hitting these international games, and we're going to pump these numbers up some more.
And actually, I think it's a good thing. Like, there was an ad during the Super Bowl. Even my wife gave her pause because she was watching with me. My son decided he wanted to be a traitor and go watch with his buddy. He caught hell for a few days for that too. But anyways, remember, I don't know if you guys saw the ad during the Super Bowl. They had the ad about they had the build-up coming in with the kid in Africa, right? During the Super Bowl, it ended up being a commercial for NFL Africa, right? What you're saying there, Ken, is true. They're really building on this international flavor. I guess if there's one thing that happened, I don't know if it's official, but supposedly the Detroit Lions are signing an edge rusher from the CFL. So, it's a CFL, so it's a little bit different because actually the CFL has been around longer than the NFL. People don't realize that.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. It's been around like 5 or 6. It was 5 or 6 years. Predates the NFL by 5 or 6 years. Yeah, so the Grey Cup is actually the longest winning football championship. So really, we should probably call it Canadian football. Anywho, let's not. The international game, though, is getting a lot bigger when you look at the NFL now going to Germany. We're in England. They're doing a game in Barcelona, right, at the home stadium for Barca. They're talking about doing a game in Brazil. So, they've definitely opened up the game. Now, Mike the Bear fan, we're caught up in this as a Bears team this year. I mean, you want to talk about, and I don't want to make this about the Bears this morning, but, look at it. We're talking about the international game. The Bears are going to somewhere in Europe this year, Mike.
Yep. I personally don't like it. I know it's going to be a away game for us, I believe, when we were talking about it. I just don't like it because it's so early in the morning. Like, it's like 8:30 in the morning kickoff or something. That's early.
Yeah, for those who follow us, realize our Roku show is on at 11:30, which is normally pregame. For a Bears game in Frankfurt, I think it'd be in Frankfurt, not Munich this year. If the Bears are playing in Frankfurt or if they're playing at Barca in Spain, okay, the game starts at 9 a.m. The game is probably still going on when we're supposed to be on Roku doing pregame. So it might be more of a post-game show that day for us. But it's good for the NFL, though. I mean, look at the London games. All the games are sold out every single time, right? I know, Robert, but the CFL, it's just going to show. I brought that up in saying that we're going more international. So I don't think have the Falcons been.
Went to London.
You guys do. I'm going to hit this. A Facebook user, if you really want to make a comment to make yourself seem smart and witty, associate your name to your StreamYard so you're not Facebook user. But okay, if you're a Lions fan, you can go back to the basement next year because you guys have been in the basement more than any team in the division. And then come the Vikings, and the Bears haven't been great lately. But going back to international before we get through the clickbait, I just want to talk trash people and people who actually want to talk football. What do you guys think about this whole NFL, trying to reestablish themselves in Europe? And of course, we do Mexico City now, and possibly now hitting Central and South America more.
Yeah, I'm personally not against the Central and South America ones because you don't have as much of a flight with it and getting all that jet lag. I personally don't like having to go into Europe to play just from what my team put on the field that day when we had to play against the Giants over there. And a lot of teams you see have issues with it unless they're one of the teams like the Jaguars that's been in it so many times they know the routine. I would be okay with bringing in another one of these franchises, like bring in a franchise from Europe, but in my opinion, we'd have to have their games played in somewhere in North or South America at least, to where you're not having these big long flights all the time. And then if they're on the road multiple weeks, they're going to have to stay in country anyway.
So just for clarification, a flight to Brazil is longer than a flight to Europe.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, by a long time. You're talking like a 13-hour flight.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm totally wrong then.
Dominic, what about you? What's your feel on the internationalness of the NFL?
Well, I like it, but along with what Ken said, the flights, like that affects their gameplay and everything. I know it does. Like even if they say it doesn't and everything, that's just a long flight to get from, I don't know, like let's say California all the way to London or something, or California to Brazil, New York to Brazil. That's a long flight, and I like the idea, but it has to be more so like a plan integrated. So, you got a team in Europe and they got to come over here and play. As Ken said, they're going to have to stay in country. But I don't know. They'll figure it out, but
let me give you guys an idea on flights. Philly to London, 5 hours.
Oh,
Philly
really?
to Munich, 7 hours. So
That's
New
not
York, Philly to Cali, or Orlando to LA is 5 hours.
Dude,
oh,
NFL
okay.
is nationwide.
Then why
More
are
from the
you
fans out
getting
there.
all? Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just saying there's the NFL fan base literally goes globally. So for them to send the teams over across country, it gives the other fans an opportunity to actually go to an NFL game. Regardless if they're a fan of that team, they get to go watch an NFL team. If we didn't go there, they would never have that opportunity.
And
I
a
should
couple
love
years
to
ago,
too.
when I retired, I went to Munich to go see a Bayern Munich match, right? And so we're talking March of 19. So I go into one of the local sports shops there, which obviously is full of football kits, right? Because I'm gonna get me my Bayern Munich jersey. I want to get in Germany. And guess what they have in the sports store? NFL merchandise. They had merchandise in Munich. They had merchandise for the Bears, for the Colts, for the Buccaneers, and the Packers
Wow.
in Munich. So they've been pushing it. And remember, I think I think they're going to try to relaunch NFL Europe at some point. Because, I don't know if you guys remember NFL Europe, and some good players have come out of NFL Europe that got NFL contracts and played for a while in the NFL. I think they're going to try to bring back NFL Europe. If not, just put a franchise in a city like London or Munich or both. Because you might get, I could see it if they do try to become a global league, so to speak, where you could have an expansion where you could get the AFC E, and the NFC E, and put 8 teams in Europe, right? And now you have, 8 teams in Europe, and so maybe you do London, you do Barcelona, you do Frankfurt, you do Munich. There's 4, right? And maybe you have 4 more major cities that we put games in, or maybe you put 2 teams in London. I don't know if you could. I don't think you could do that.
Well,
But
the tough part was breaking them off in what division?
well, no, so you have an AFC Europe and NFC Europe, so they'd have their own division of 4 teams. That's why you need 8 teams.
Okay.
So then divisionally, if you think about it, 6 of their games are within the division, and then they're going to play one of the NFC E is going to play the AFC E every year, one game, right? So that's 7, and now you've got what? You've got 10 more games to figure out between the conference, but I mean, it does boost. And Robert's right, and it boosts the NFL brand in other countries. It actually, you know what? It does do stuff for the teams though, because the teams are making money on that too. The merchandising they make off and look at, if your home game is not at Wembley, you're making more money at Wembley than you are at Lambeau or Soldier, because Wembley puts more people in the seats. It's a bigger stadium. Hey, Facebook user, see, once again, if you knew anything about football, I'll break this down for Mr. Facebook user. So a team moving to London. Let's talk about this Facebook user. Doesn't have a name, probably Nick Green, but or some Lions fan. But let's talk about if you're going to be an NFL team that be moving to London, you're actually your best options if you're the NFL, honestly, are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Jacksonville Jaguars, right off the bat. Why? Because their team ownership also owns a team in the Premier League.
And not only that, the Jacksonville, like I alluded to earlier, has gone over there multiple times, so they got a nice foothold over there. They've had trouble filling their stadium in Jacksonville before, so it's not like it'd be so far out of the realm of possibility that you're going to get laughed out of the room bringing it up. I think it's a real possibility if we do expand that they could possibly be a team that moves over there.
So I lived in Jacksonville for a while at a duty station there, and it was I was there 09 through 11, right when Khan bought the team, and he owns a Premier League team. And even back then, there was talk of them moving to. It's been a talk for almost a decade. for over a decade about the team possibly moving to Jacks or moving to London, because the difference between them and I said the Bucks, but the Bucks ownership, they own Arsenal, and right now the fan base of Arsenal is not too happy with them, and they may actually sell the team. But Khan is actually well liked for his Premier League team. So the Jags moving over there would make some sense. But I think any of the or actually the Rams, they have ownership. Well, they own a Premier League team. So there's a couple NFL teams that have ownership, either a stake or outright own Premier League teams. Now in Germany, there's there's no option for that because all the owners are German. No American football team owns a Bundesliga team or owns a Serie A or a La Liga team, being Italy and Spain respectively. But for Premier League, yeah, I mean there's American ownership, and so if you have American ownership of a Premier League team and an NFL franchise, it would make sense to a certain degree, especially if, let's say you're in a city like Jacksonville, where even when you're having a good year, you're having a problem filling the stadium and this, that, and the other. It makes some sense. But the problem there becomes this as well, though. Let's say you're Jacksonville, you move to London, right? You're married up with your Premier League team. Great. Now all the players you draft have to get visas to live in London, be it full-time or part-time every year.
Mm-hmm.
And then how does that work with contracts? I can't pay you with dollars. I got to pay you in pounds.
Yeah, that shit's going to be tricky. But Rick here brings up a good point that I didn't know, that apparently they're building a new stadium and complex for the Jaguars.
Yeah, I haven't been keyed in on that. New Zealand, like 4 hours from Jacks. I haven't seen that. But I mean, but that's and if the Jags aren't moving, but that would have been a case. If you're going to move an NFL franchise, I think they're more likely. The NFL is more likely to make them an expansion team. Hey, Rick, where in Jacksonville did you live? Throw it in the comments. I lived over by Orange Park, over by NES Jacks, actually, not far from that area. When I was with Doctor's Inlet, that's where I lived. That was the name of it. So yeah, Jacks is a weird city if you've ever been there or lived there. It's like two different towns. You've got Jacksonville on the west side of the St. Johns River, and then you've got Jacksonville on the west side of the St. Johns. It's kind of Orange Park. All right, so yeah, you're not far from where I was. But yeah, it makes more sense. Facebook user actually agrees. It makes more sense to actually start a team. I think they're working towards that goal of putting an NFL franchise. And I think the goal originally might have been Mexico City, but given
I was going to say, I've heard a lot of steam heading for the Mexico City one.
But Mexico City is such a dangerous place right now. Like when they go to Azteca, like I used to go to Mexico a lot. I still do. We go to Cozumel, Puerto Vallarta, stuff like that. Fans who live in those areas won't go to Azteca Stadium to go see the national team, which is like sacrosanct for them, right? Because they don't want to go to Mexico City. These people who live, let's say, in the Yucatan, they don't want to go to Mexico City. So it's interesting. We'll see with the World Cup coming to the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, and a couple games happening in Mexico. I think that might be a little bit of a testing ground for the NFL as far as safety concerns. So if the World Cup pulls off in Mexico City, incident-free, right, or you don't have like fans getting murdered, robbed. I mean, robbing always happens. Theft happens, right? People get bugged all the time. But I think if it's pretty clean, I think that may be a green light for the NFL to say, okay, maybe we can realistically put a team in Mexico City. Canada is interesting. I don't think we won't get a team in Canada. Facebook user again saying, Mexico, Canada, because Canada's got the CFL. And
they might have the CFL, but when I was dating the Canadian woman there, you would be shocked at how many NFL fans are in Canada. And I ran into at least about a dozen Packer fans there just alone.
Yeah, but they could be Packer fans and Bears fans in Canada, but the CFL is their game. And you're not going to put them in Toronto. They have the Argonauts. You're not going to put them in British Columbia. They've got a team. You're not going to put them in Ottawa. They got a team. You're not going to put them in Vancouver.
I still wouldn't be surprised about Toronto, because you remember when the Bills were changing ownership, there was a major push that they wanted to try to get them to move into
Right,
Toronto.
but you're not going to put an NFL team in Toronto because of it's only an hour from Buffalo. So the fan base that's in Toronto already is above. If they like the NFL, they're Bills fans already. So you're not going to put one there. You're not going to put one in Ottawa because it's literally right across the bridge from Detroit. You're not going to put one in Vancouver because it's right across the border from Seattle. So the NFL touches those big cities fan base wise already. So it'd be really hard for the NFL, I think, to put a team in Canada. I think Mexico is probably a more likely scenario. Mexico City is a more likely scenario in the in North America. You gotta love Robert. Sponsorship by whatever cartel, right?
Oh my God!
But I mean, so Mexico.
Hold on. Not to interrupt you, but I want to hit the Facebook user. It's got to be a full state to get a team. We can't just give it to a place that you can throw the ball out of the state.
Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, let's give a team to Louisville, right? Let's give Kentucky a team, or let's go give one of the Dakotas a team, or Idaho, or something, or Iowa. I mean, look, I think the NFL's got the right idea with the international game. I mean, can you imagine if you put a team in London? I think London is the easiest for NFL teams to access because from the East Coast, it's literally a 5-hour flight, right? So, it's no worse than them going to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Going from the East Coast to the West Coast. I think that it'd make more sense because the European fan base, you'd own London. You would own London. And Robert asked this question, and this is why I say it, because of what I just said, Robert. Multiple teams share stadium. Sure, Canada teams, they'll be weak. They only know hockey. Well, I don't know. CFL teams aren't that. The talent in the CFL is not as good as the NFL, because if you're the best, you want to play the NFL. But the CFL is still a pretty good league. I don't think you put a team in Toronto because the Bills would be against it. Bills ownership would be against it. And you don't put one in Vancouver because current NFL ownership would be against it. You don't put one across the bridge from Detroit because Detroit ownership would be against it. Maybe it's not Ottawa. What's the Keene? I may be wrong on Ottawa, but what's the city that's right across from Detroit? That's the Canadian capital, right? That's right across from Detroit, I thought. Anywho, but there's a major city across from Detroit, Canadian city. You're not going to put a team there because it's right across. So it's like when they wanted to put an NFL team in Orlando, right? And that keeps getting shot down because the Bucks and the Jags are like, no, we're not going to do it. So
yeah, you already have 3 teams in Florida. You're really going to try to squeeze another one in there? That just seems a little too much for me.
Yeah, it kind of is. Ooh, I don't like that one. It kind of is. So there we go. I don't think you're going to do that. I think Europe makes more sense with if you just look at the branding, the way they've gone. Could you see a team go to Canada? Sure. I won't rule it out, but I just don't. I think probability. I think the NFL wants to expand into, because look, we're already making Canadian money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we're drawing Canadian money already.
Canada actually, I think it was this past year or maybe the year before, the regions in there got divided up by NFL teams as a secondary market. So
thank you. Okay, yeah, thank you, Keith. Okay, so I was right on the capital being Ottawa, but it's Windsor. That's across the bridge from Detroit. Thank you for the clarification. I'm not that big on Canadian stuff, especially with. All I know is Trudeau will take your money from your bank account if you disagree with them. But yeah, I mean, we're making we're making Canadian money though. The Bills are already pulling in money from Canada. The Seahawks the Sea Chickens are pulling in money from Canada. The Lion Queens are pulling. The Lions are pulling in money from Canada. Actually, the Vikings are pulling in money from Canada because they're a short drive from the Canadian border. So some of the northern teams are already pulling, the Cleveland teams, they're across the lake, they're pulling some money in from Canada. So we're already making that Canadian money, but we're not making the Mexican peso. We're not making the British pound. We're not making the euro. And I think those are markets where the NFL might be more apt to go because it's a market that we're not. I mean, they're making inroads in these markets. That's why we're seeing, you go to London, you'll find a guy wearing an Atlanta Falcons jersey. Why? Because the NFL is pushing
marketing out there and everything.
Yeah,
and it's been happening for a while.
Yeah, because back in the day, if you went internationally and you saw your team's jersey, you know what it was? It was another tourist.
Okay.
Or if you're in Germany, Italy, or England, it was most likely a U.S. service member who was off duty.
Okay. So times are changing. All right. That's awesome. That's pretty good.
But that's the majority of how you saw American football fans in Europe or other places, is because they were Americans.
Mm-hmm. Well, hey, they've done a hell of a job marketing it, because you see all these international games, the stadiums are packed with a sea of colors. Yeah. So it's not like it's just guys from home that are going to these games. We're getting a foothold with the guys that were born there.
Let me ask you each a question. Dominic, let me go with you first, okay? Have you ever been to an international or a European soccer game?
No, but
how about you, Ken?
Nope, I've never even been to a soccer game. Period.
I've
been that atmosphere on TV. Like
I have been to 2 World Cups, and I've been to Bundesliga, and let me tell you, nothing in American sports holds a candle to it. If you go to an MLS game, it's getting close. So, like, I used to go to a ton of. When I lived in Orlando, I went to a ton of Orlando City games. You got the super fan section. They're beating the drums, they're chanting, they're singing the whole time. The fan experience in soccer is ridiculous. But when you watch the NFL games in Europe, you catch a little bit of it. The difference is, though, you don't get a full board because you've got, you look at the game in London, you see every single team's represented, right? You'll see maybe a section of fans for a team. If you put a team in London and now you have a dedicated London team with a dedicated London fan base, trust me, there will be songs, there will be chants, there will be all kinds of crazy.
We're used to hearing about the soccer riots over there. Does that mean we're going to get an NFL riot?
Oh
no, you don't see the hooligan, the English hooliganism. Dude, that's a carryover from the '90s. That's stuck from the '90s. And Robert, you can say they're a bunch of fair weathers. It's not that they're fair weathers; they don't have a team to latch onto. But I think and I think even Robert, you might agree with this. If you give London a team, and now you've got the London Monarchs, let's say for a team name, right? I know it's a bad team name, but hey, off the cuff. Let's say you put a team in London. That team now is going to have hardcore fans. They will have their own chants. They will have their own songs. They will have new traditions. When you go play London, NFL teams when they go play a London franchise, if the Packers, the Bears, the Giants, whoever go over there and play that team, it's going to be they'll be, what you like to say, Dominic, you just played against the London Monarchs. What did you think of the experience?
That was we lost that game, I believe, but that was it was nice. Like everybody got into it and everything. Like it felt more so like, they didn't care what team, was winning and everything, but they'd like to see the hits, the catches, especially the throws by the QB. Like all their faces were like, whoa, how's he doing that? Or like, the runs by the running back, the cornerbacks playing. And like, I know they were surprised by the defense because you don't have sports like that over in Europe where contact and everything. And then they get back up, 5 seconds after, boom, get on the line and everything. That's just, that's very surprising to them. So London Bridge.
That actually wouldn't be too bad.
Right? That's good.
Give us some other names for a possible London franchise in the comments, guys. Keep them coming. That's a good one. The London Bridgers. So we've got the Monarchs, the Bridgers. Anyone else?
We got
You
the
know,
teetotalers too.
the what?
The teetotalers.
Oh, I don't know if the teetotalers would work, but okay.
Yeah,
They would probably,
that was me trying to ham it in there.
you know
But
what? Actually, you know what? It would be more. You know what would be kind of the way they would probably go? London AFC, London American Football Club, because that's more in line with like,
Yeah.
you know, if you look at the football clubs there, it's, you know, Man City FC, Manchester United FC,
oh yeah,
Leeds
I
FC.
definitely get that. But that'd be a mouthful trying to
Hold on.
say during while you're announcing these games for these NFL announcers.
Oh
You
no, they would just say London because like when you listen to like when they do like West Ham, you know, it's just West Ham, not West Ham FC. You know, when they Wrexham, it's not Wrexham
okay.
AFC.
Yeah, well, like I
It's
said,
Wrexham
I don't
FC.
watch any of that stuff, so I couldn't
Yeah.
even begin to tell you.
When you talk like about Bayern Munich, it's not, you know, people say Bayern Munich FC, they just say Bayern. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, so they'd just be called London, but I think they would probably go with London AFC. You know, because that's more of the European style of naming. They don't do mascots like we do mascots and team names like we do. So you're not going to get like, see, then NFL Europe tried that, and I don't think the branding worked for them. I think what would work
They don't
better
like
for
that
Europe.
stuff out there, I don't think.
Yeah, I think they would brand more in line with what football in Europe brands, like city names,
Yeah.
AFC, you know, the London American Football Club, and they'll have a logo, you know. But look at even logos. Like if you see behind me, I mean, there's a logo for Bayern Munich. It's legit, you know, the flag for that part of Germany. You know, it's not like an animal or something. Um, the London Drakes.
London Drakes.
So yeah, FC will always be with football club, but that's why I say to the AFC because of course we're American Football Club. You know, we're American football. So I think that would probably be the way. But I mean, I think an NFL franchise in Europe makes sense. Maybe
Yeah,
two.
it would expand the merchandise too, revenue, global, what's it called?
Global
Global
reach.
viewership.
Yeah.
Yeah, the British Bulldogs.
That's I can get down with that one.
Oh. Yeah, but unfortunately, either WWE or his family is going to own the trademark to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
You know,
and if I was them, I would not let that sumbitch go without the fattest check you'd seen. Because they're going to make insane money off of it.
Well, and I don't think they would do that because they wouldn't name it for the entire country. Because the hopes would be that there would be a second American football team in London or in England at some point. But another thing to think about: flag football is in the Olympics, fellas.
Yeah, football's gaining popularity with it.
So, and I think that's a direct correlation to the work the NFL's done. So, you know, I think you see another reason why the NFL might push. Yeah, that's why he did the spelling distinction, but I think they'd still get busted in court over that. But with the flag football growing, I think that's going to grow the NFL game. You know, I don't think, but I think this is what the NFL envisions. They envision the NFL being FIFA.
No. Yeah.
Roger Goodell, probably in his mind internationally, is thinking of the NFL one day becoming like FIFA. Now, obviously, it couldn't be the NFL. The NFL will have to actually split. You'd have to have, or like right now, okay, so the way FIFA works right now, you've got FIFA as the governing body of world soccer, and it's broken down into regions, right? So we live in CONCACAF. That's where we live. UEFA is the European Football Association. CONCACAF is the United States, Mexico, Canada, Trinidad and Tobago, a lot of the Caribbeans, right? So the NFL, though, I think sees itself coming into a certain sphere of being like the governing body for American football worldwide. So at some point, you would have the NFL or you'd have the American Football Association, whatever, right? Or American International Football Association. The NFL would be the governing body of North American Football League, right? Then you'd have a European football league like an EFL, and maybe you have the SAFL, South American Football League. You see, I'm saying they break up into regions. I think the NFL kind of has a design because look at why wouldn't you? You
Yeah.
know, there's a football. The basketball has that. You have FIBA. FIBA is the Federation of International Basketball Association.
Yep.
So you'd probably have a Federation of International American Football Association. So, something to that effect. And I think Roger Goodell thinks that it is going to be him or his predecessor, or I mean, the guy who replaces him. But I could see that being their and have it. And look at then it's like FIFA is actually housed in Switzerland. I could see them wanting to have the headquarters of American football, of course, being in New York,
Yep.
and the world, looks, them in New York, and why not? Because look how much money. Look at there's no mistaking how much money. If we think American football is anything on the world stage as far as money, dude, we might as well be double A baseball.
Oh God.
I mean, honestly, let's think about it. We think $40 million is a lot of money for a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
That's like a mid-level soccer player in Europe.
Yeah. Soccer players be getting paid bank too.
I mean, when Messi came, Messi's making more money than any American football player, I think, right now. I think he might have the richest contract in all American sports right now. Dollar-wise, I think baseball has a contract or two that comes close, but
Do they have? They don't have a cap space, right?
They have some exceptions because some of the international players. But here's what Messi has that no other American sport athlete has. His contract stipulates part ownership in Apple.
Yeah, there ain't no way in hell anybody's going to give an NFL player partial ownership. Like the nonsense that was getting brought about Caleb Williams a couple months back.
Yeah, ownership.
I'm only going to go to a team that's going to give me part. Ain't nobody going to do that shit.
So Messi's contract, he doesn't have part ownership in Apple. He has part ownership in the MLS's deal with Apple. So he makes money off of that, and he's got his own deal with Apple. He's already had Messi Comes to America, which is a great miniseries. Actually, I think they're going to bring it back for another season. And now they've got Messi's World Cup is coming this week. Tomorrow, Friday, it comes out. Okay. But then also stipulating his contract, he'll have ownership of an MLS team or part ownership in an MLS team when his playing days are over. Messi's making more money than anyone. If people want to think Taylor Swift has a lot of fans or followers, guess who has more followers? Taylor Swift or Cristiano Ronaldo?
Oh, Ronaldo.
By far.
That's a whole nother level of being famous.
NFL, we're small potatoes. So if you're Roger Goodell and you're like, well, look at all the money, like the World Cup makes billions of dollars. I mean, what's funny? Like we all saw the news where the American women's team, they want equal pay because they win World Cups and the men don't.
Yeah.
Even the Women's World Cup generates more money than the Super Bowl.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, fuck.
Why, if you're the NFL, why wouldn't you want a piece of that pie?
And my question is, why start so late? I mean, I get it, but
you had to seed interest in that because them trying with NFL Europe there and it being such a flop.
Yep.
You had to recover from that.
Yeah, so back in the 80s, you had London games. Like, you had Walter Payton and William Perry in London. They were doing London games. And based off that success of doing one London game a year, they launched NFL Europe. And look, some good players came out of NFL Europe. But
didn't Kurt Warner go to NFL Europe?
Was it Kurt Warner? No.
I'm pretty sure Kurt Warner did, and it was for Amsterdam or something like that.
Maybe he did for a season, but there's some other names. I don't think Kurt Warner went to arena football.
He went to.
Yeah, he did arena football. I'm not sure if someone can Google it, but there are a couple NFL. There are more than a few. There's like a handful, maybe half a dozen or a dozen NFL players that played in NFL Europe. But most of those guys are getting ready to retire now. But they didn't market, and NFL Europe did okay, but they didn't market it right. And I think them putting an actual NFL franchise in there would then breed more
Yeah.
interest
Well,
maybe
Kurt,
reduced.
Kurt Warner was in NFL Europe at the Amsterdam Admirals.
Okay, who else was in NFL Europe that got NFL contracts? I didn't remember Kurt being there. Most thing you remember about Kurt is he was arena football working at a grocery store, right? Getting paid by the touchdown. The Russian hackers. Oh, okay, football.
Brian Baldiner apparently played in NFL Europe.
Yeah, there are a couple guys.
That one at all.
And look, there are more players in the NFL coming out of Europe and Africa now than ever before, right? So it makes sense for the NFL to grow the game, for Roger Goodell to have FIFA aspirations, because the NFL is small potatoes compared to international soccer. Small potatoes. I mean, you're going to get to the point now where in Miami FC is probably making more money than the Miami Dolphins.
That's
yeah.
You go to LA, where the LA Galaxy draws a bigger crowd than the Chargers.
Well, the Chargers put a shit product on the field
Or the Rams, for the most part. They sell out. I mean, well, the Rams will sell out now, but I mean, the LAFC and LA Galaxy both sell out. And you know what? If you look at ownership in a lot of these American franchises, who owns some of them? You know who owns the Tennessee franchise? Reese Witherspoon.
Wait, what?
Will Ferrell owns part of LAFC, LAFC. Will Ferrell is an owner. Look at what happened.
Did he go to the game and DJ at it?
Yeah, he's done a bunch of stuff. I mean, he went to Wrexham to visit because two Americans, an American and a Canadian, own Wrexham FC. And now look at how big Wrexham has become internationally because of the FX show, right? So even in the U.S., MLS franchises are starting to turn huge profits. In Atlanta, it'd be interesting to see who makes more money, Atlanta FC or the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, but Arthur Blank owns both, I believe, right? So,
yes, he does.
Yeah.
So for him, it's a win-win.
He's more so for the soccer team too. I'm not gonna lie to you. So like, he puts more money into the soccer team.
Well, they won a championship, right?
Yeah. So like, why not?
But I mean, if you look at the sport, even in the U.S., it's grown. You know where FC Bayern's biggest fan base is outside of Munich? Texas.
Texas. Oh.
The FC Bayern's fan base in the U.S. is massive. Their biggest U.S.-based fan group, though, is in Texas. They've had a partnership with the Kansas City Chiefs going back now almost a decade.
Oh, wow.
No shit.
So, they've been international football has been very, very smart with how they've approached the NFL and used the NFL. And the NFL is starting to realize, wait a minute, there's money to be made here. I mean, so I wasn't surprised when the NFL went to Germany that they went to Munich first. Because the Bayern's, and look, if you Allianz Arena, I'll put it up against any NFL stadium any day. Gorgeous stadium. I mean, so they've got some really good places there. So I mean, internationally, the game going to a Europe team, I think it's good. We have a comment here with the NFL has been smart. Yeah, see, they've been smart in the seating. You're right, Joe. NFL Europe, I think they went too far too fast, and they learned from that mistake. And now, like Joseph, they're getting better to seed. Like I said, in 2019, you were finding NFL merchandise for sale in Munich, and then they didn't. And the first game was what, 2021, 2022. 2022 was the first game. So 3-4 years out, they were already starting to sell NFL merch and push it.
Smart.
So there's something to be said about their game plan. We've been playing games in Mexico City now. We've been playing, we haven't played a game in Canada yet. That should tell you they have no design to go to Toronto or Vancouver or Ottawa. They're going to leave Canada alone for now because of the CFL. Now, does the CFL play a part in the greater scheme of things? Oh, I think it does. Because if we become the FIFA of American football,
yeah, you already got a league started there. They just have to change their rules and modify the field a bit.
Right, because the thing with FIFA is, so if you go watch a Bundesliga game, an MLS game, a La Liga, Serie A, any of these leagues, they all have the exact same rules. It's all FIFA rules. So the CFL would have to modify to NFL rules, but every country in Europe has their own football association. So if you're the NFL, you want every country in Europe to have their own American Football Association. So the CFL would be their football association that would fall into the North American group for a World Football Cup.
Yeah. Hey, but since I don't know how any of the World Cup stuff goes, is it like a longer playoff season that you?
Oh God, it's 2 years long.
Oh,
Yeah, so
Lord.
we just had the World Cup in Qatar 2022. The next World Cup is here in the United States, 2026. This is the first time it's been hosted by 3 nations. The majority of the games are in the U.S., with games also be played in Canada and Mexico. Qualification starts 2 years out. So 2024, we start World Cup qualifiers. So the way you do it is each region, CONCACAF, UEFA, they all have their qualification process. So kind of like a round robin tournament, right? And then, each region is seated so many seats at the big dance at the World Cup itself, right? So it was 32 teams this time. They're expanding it now. The World Cup's expanding this time. So like in this next World Cup, Canada, the U.S., and Mexico automatically qualify as host nation.
Yeah.
Okay. The winner of the previous World Cup also automatically qualifies. So that means if let's say who won the World Cup this time? It was Argentina. So now Argentina qualifies. So that means Brazil will probably qualify. We'll get it. But now a country in their region that usually doesn't qualify, because let's face it, Argentina and Brazil qualify every time, now has a better shot at qualifying. So for this one, because CONCACAF already has 3 teams in, we might see Trinidad and Tobago, or like last time the U.S. hosted in '94, Colombia got it. So you might see lesser teams from our federation, our region, get in. So the NFL could do something similar. But yeah, so you have a year and a half.
Well, I was going to say I don't think NFL fans would be up for the whole 2 years for it.
Well,
you'd have to try to find some type of middle ground.
This would be you're talking about something like this to happen with American football is decades away. Trust me, they would build towards it because you would because here's how it works in international soccer. So okay, you play for your club team. So you play for Bayern or Leeds or Nottingham or Wrexham or AC Milan or Inter Miami, and then you play for your national team. So what would happen under this thing? Every country at some point would have a national team. So during the season, you'll have what they call an international break, like 3 or 4 weeks, and they'll play their national team for qualification, or because you've also got other things. Look at we are such small potatoes. Here's how big FIFA is. You got the World Cup once every 4 years. Every year you've got UEFA Champions League, which is a whole big thing. In fact, today I got a game to watch Bayern Munich's playing at 2:00. But then you've got like the European Championship. You got the CONCACAF Championship. You've got all these other tournaments that go on between the World Cup, right, within nations. So that's what that generates buku dollars for these national teams. So, could the NFL get there? Yeah, 30, 50 years from now, because first you'd have to build up American football in all these countries around the world and build these regions. Then you'd have to get national teams for each country. So you'd have an American national team, a Canadian national team, a Mexican national team, a German national team, et cetera, et cetera. And then they would have to compete in a qualification process for a World Cup, if you will, for football, American football, or have the CONCACAF, like a CONCACAF Gold Cup for North American region, right, for American football. But I think the NFL on some level has a design on something like that, because the amount of money that's generated for these countries and these clubs, it's ridiculous. That's a reason why an average soccer player playing in Europe can make $30 million a year, and that's a small contract.
Because look what's his name, Mbappe. if I'm saying his name
Yeah.
correct. He got Saudi Arabia offered him what $1 billion in a stake in a team.
Yeah.
I'm glad he said no because that's a sellout move.
And he went to Barca, and
But like,
Barca's going to pay him out the wazoo. Barca's
yeah,
paying him.
so he's going to what's it called? Who's he signing to now?
Barca,
Yeah,
Barcelona.
Barca. So like, I think that's a smarter move. Anyways, you know, get your championships and stuff. Don't take the easy way out.
And Nick, exactly right. I mean, but I mean, I think you can see though I put that as a roadmap, right? I think it would be an extremely long time. Like we won't see that our lifetime, but 50 years down the road, is that a possibility?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Joe's right. Look, this can make it into an Olympic sport.
I
flag
wouldn't
football-
mind seeing it as an Olympic sport. That maybe we can get the flag football one to evolve into being a regular football one,
Full
like how the
contact.
basketball
Yep.
ones go.
Um,
Yeah, because flag football is kind of cool and all, but it's nowhere near the same element
Yeah.
as when you got guys crashing into each other and ending careers.
Hearing that bone crushing hit, like,
Yeah.
come on, that's what football. They're the next gladiators. So
So here's a question though.
Entertainment.
Here's a question though for the flag football in the Olympics. Did anyone look to see what the player makeup is at? Is it going to be NFL players?
Yeah, there's a lot of NFL players that are already talking about that they're going to be the ones that are going for the American flag football team, which I think you got to dominate that one if you're an NFL player. And
Nobody better score anything on you. That's all I'm
it's
saying.
going to be. Well, I mean, it's going to kind of be like the dream team in Barcelona in '92. I mean, it should be something like that. But the difference, though, between Barcelona '92 is, look, at that point, the NBA is kind of also a blueprint for the NFL for this because, look, at FIBA is only so big now because of the NBA, because of the dream team, because of the NBA's exposure into Europe. Yeah, I think the Canadian flag football team will probably be pretty decent. Right? They're probably your silver medalists in this, right? The CFL has some talent though, so you can't rule them out. But they'll be the closest game, but they probably still get killed from a bunch of NFL players. No. But this is the way that the NFL. Look at the NFL made the Pro Bowl a flag football game. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's a reason for that. So I could see how this works. Let me see. Wait, let me read Nick's comment more thoroughly here. Wait, maybe they could do a soft opening of sorts, like a CFL team versus a group of NFL practice guys. No, you know what? Why not take the Grey Cup champions and have them play the Super Bowl champs in a game?
Well, that wouldn't even be fair.
I don't know if you could have them play the Super Bowl champs.
Honestly, maybe like the NFC or AFC division champs.
No, why not? I think you guys are not giving them credit. I mean, first off, there's a couple of issues with why that can't happen. One, they play a longer field and a wider field than we do. Mm-hmm. Two, their Grey Cup is like their season ended a month or two before ours, so there's a delay there. But I mean,
and not only that is theirs is a 3-down system instead of 4.
So there's some rule thing. That's what I'm saying. There has to be an international governing body, and there isn't. I think that I think Goodell's say, well, then we need to become that. So, okay, if you look at the landscape, who else is out there? The CFL, which has been established longer than the NFL. So how do you make you the official rules of the game? By dominating the world marketplace and making everyone go, well, the NFL rules are the rules we all know already. So, hey, Canada, you're going to have to change to the NFL rules. I mean, hold on. This would be a funny comment.
Well, yeah, I just went to put it up at the same time as you.
Yeah, Robert, good luck with that comment. I'm just going to go, okay. Because, once again, we are small potatoes compared to...
I think he's comparing it to the CFL, talking about for rule changes, not CFL, against soccer clubs.
The CFL is not European.
No, I think he's saying for them to adopt rules of
Yeah.
it to make it like a national governing
Well, I
one.
mean, no, well, look,
Like that?
I think if you're in England or you're in Spain or whatever, you watch NFL football. You haven't watched CFL football. So by default, because more fans are aware of the NFL rules, I think the NFL rules would be what's adopted. Because when they see Canadian, they're like, wait, what's a 60-yard line? What the fuck is this? I mean, they're like, no, it's 50 yards, guys, not 60. So I mean, but you can see the groundwork that the NFL is laying for it, and why not have? And I think doing the AFCE, NFCE is too ambitious. But I could see like maybe you start with a team in London, and maybe you start with two teams, one in London and one in Munich. I think those are the two cities in Europe probably best suited stadium wise, fan base wise to support NFL franchise, also weather wise. A lot of people don't understand that the weather in London and the weather in like Munich, even in the wintertime, is kind of like Jacksonville.
Oh.
They don't get snow; it's warm-ish.
Is it like
Uh,
rainy there though, or no?
Well,
This
like I said,
depicted as rainy all the time in movies.
like Jacksonville. They do get a lot of rain. It's an island.
I was gonna say Jacksonville gets a shit ton of rain.
I mean,
Yeah,
Orlando gets rain every day, but I mean, I think though climate-wise, it makes more sense as you go deeper in the season, because they don't do dome stadiums in Europe, by the way, fellas. Everything's open air. So if you want to talk about how we bitch about playing a game in Green Bay, dude, you understand that the Bundesliga, their season goes from August until end of May. Outdoor soccer, August to end of May. See, Dominic's thinking about it. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
They're playing outdoor soccer in like January and February. Yes, they are.
Nick's got a good point here. Green Bay does not do well with these Florida type of weathers.
Well, I mean, look, though, like Nick, though, like a game in London, though, weather-wise, in December, we'd like be Green Bay in like October. You'd be okay. You'd be okay.
Yeah, but being a Packers fan, I wouldn't really want to give up that cold weather element.
Well, I mean, okay, but it'd be like any other game. Like you go play a game in Miami or you play a game in Tampa for an away game. If the NFL put a franchise there, dude, that's just an away game. Now it's no longer you're losing a home game to go play in London. It's always an away game.
That's what I really hated being a Packers fan when we played the Giants. Is it was our freaking home game, so we lost a game at Lambeau, and those games at Lambeau are a premium.
Actually, Robert, they would not need fully closed stadiums in some of those countries. They play outdoor soccer in those countries currently during the dead of winter. And to be honest, I think that that most of those fields over there are more meticulously cared for than a lot of our fields. Soldier Field's a bad example. The Chicago Park District sucks ass. Okay, I think you open air stadium in London, open air stadium. You would play. Here's the problem though. Bayern Munich, if they got first off, I think if you had an NFL franchise in Munich, Bayern would own it. Okay, because Bayern Munich also owns their professional hockey team in Munich. They also own the professional basketball team in Munich. They would own the American football team.
Some bitch is trying to lock down all the
like nobody coming in.
So I think Bayern would have ownership of that team. They would play at Allianz Arena, which we already know can house NFL football. Now, being a part of that fan base, I know there were a lot of Bayern diehards who were against the NFL game being played at Allianz because they didn't want the field to get tore up, and that's a legitimate concern. But I think that stadium makes sense. I think playing a team in London, either in right now in Tottenham, playing either. Yeah, dude.
I couldn't believe that shit when that happened.
It's the Chicago Park District. And here's the thing: the Bears don't own it; it's the Chicago Park District, so whatever. But I think you could have it, in London. You have multiple places. multiple stadiums you could utilize, whether it be Wembley, Manchester United or Manchester City Stadium. Where right now we're using Manchester City Stadium for the games. We haven't played at Wembley in a long time. And we've been playing at Man City's Stadium, and we've been playing at I just said it earlier. My dad was Tottenham Hotspurs at their stadium. So I mean, there are several different places, stadiums in London. God, could you imagine an NFL franchise in Talford, Old Talford? Oh my God, that's such a historic building. I mean, there are some. So London makes sense, and you've got appropriate stadiums. You could make it Wembley. You could make it Wembley. Wembley is kind of like Azteca in Mexico City. It's iconic to the nation.
Mm-hmm.
But being that would be the only NFL franchise in Europe, or it would make sense to go to an iconic stadium like Wembley. But I think long-term wise, you want to have a team. I think Wembley would be where you'd want to have your European Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that you really couldn't do it with just putting one or two teams, and you'd have to create a whole division over there at one time.
Eventually, yes. But look at the way the NFL is doing it now. How many games are there in London this year?
Oh, isn't it like
4? 3?
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was 4.
And there's a game in Barcelona, and there's a game in Munich. 5 games internationally this year, right? If you did an expansion of 2 teams, one in Munich, one in London, you've got 16 games theoretically in Europe now, 16 to 17, right? One of them maybe gets the bonus that year. But then if they play against each other, right? So let's say you have 16 games. Let's say the bonus home game is London versus Munich, okay? So you've got 16 games between London and Munich where North American teams have to go across. Okay, so whoever their division rivals is, they all get a game. That's obvious, right? I mean, but the first year would be kind of like, ooh,
yeah.
And Joe, yeah, I mean, look at the way it's scheduled now. So let's say you play London on week 1, you play in London. Okay. Week 2, you couldn't have your bye. But week 2.
Or what you could do is schedule.
Actually, week 1, you schedule London versus Munich. Yeah. Then whoever plays on Thursday night.
That's what I was about to say. Have them go the next week. That way they got that bye.
Yep. So whoever plays Monday, or are you talking on the way back? Either way, if you play in London, right, for week 2, then week 4, your Thursday night football maybe or something like that.
Yeah, because that not only does it help the NFL Europe, but it's also going to help boost your Thursday night ratings a bit, because you're going to want to see, hey, how's this team looking before they got to go all the way over there.
I mean, but if you're, like I said, if you're an East Coast team, if you're the Jets and you have to go play, let's say the London, let's say is an NFC,
or make
let's just say London's NFC. If you're the Giants, it's a 5-hour flight. It's no different, and the time difference is 4 hours, 5 hours. Yeah. So okay, it's a little bit of a time difference than going to LA, which is a 3-hour time difference for them, right? But so it's not much of a change. I mean, it's the opposite direction. Okay, change that way, maybe, but still, you don't need a bye week coming off of that away game.
Mm-hmm. Or you make the international games the Thursday games.
No, because the short week has to go to London. No, why would if you played Sunday, dude? If you played Sunday and then you had to fly to London Sunday night after your game Sunday to play Thursday in London or Thursday in Munich.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking about the flight coming back from it. That you'd be ready for your next game for a while.
And if you played in London on Sunday, okay, you get done with your London game, which is like 11 Central, noon Central. By that time you're done with your game, right? You get on a flight home. Now you're home by 5 p.m. 6 p.m. Central. You could theoretically play the Thursday night game then. Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
because that is a possibility, but I don't think you move an NFL franchise. So sorry, Nick. The Bears aren't going to move to Mexico City. The Packers are not going to be moved to Ecuador where they belong.
Hey.
Ecuador.
Don't make us ship you down to Mexico and name you the Albarios.
Yeah, or the look at you're not going to be moved to somewhere in Mexico and be called the
Yeah,
Cocaine Packers. Okay.
Hey, I might be okay with that.
So, but I mean, honestly, I think the concept and the idea of NFL European franchises, and let's face it, fellas, they've talked about it for the last couple of years. We've been hearing it, and
It's gonna happen. It's going to happen.
so okay, we're about at the hour mark. So before I ask a question, I'll do our advertisements. Don't forget every Saturday night at 5 p.m. Central, you've got the Frozen Thunder Network on all these channels plus Roku. And then if you stick around and watch for another hour after that at 7 p.m. Central on Roku and all the Bears Network channels, you'll have the House Hall Report. Every Sunday at 11:30 Central in the morning on all the Bears channels and Roku will have the House Hall Report pregame edition. And then on Monday night at 5 p.m., you have Frozen Thunder Network stations and Roku Frozen Thunder Network. So please don't forget to tune in for those. Give them like and share. Also, the QR code you're seeing in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. If you click that QR code, that'll take you to NFL Shop. You'll get a nice little discount. I think right now it's free shipping from NFL Shop. For clicking on our QR code, that'll help you out, get the gear you want, whether it be for your new first-round draft pick this year, your division championship T-shirt and banner. If you're a Lions fan, they may even have. I think they even have won their first playoff game in 32 years banner there. I'm not sure. So click on that QR code if you want to get your Falcons Bijan Robinson jersey. That's the place to get it. So definitely click on that, and don't forget us every morning. Ken and Ken talking football in the morning. We start at 10 a.m. Central every day. And come check us out every day. And obviously today we've been talking international football. So Dominic, I'll go to you first on the question I was going to ask. How long do you think it takes for there to be a team in London or Munich or Barcelona or some European city? And do you think they go with one team or they go with a two-team expansion, one AFC, one NFC?
I'm gonna say I'm going with like pretty soon, within the next 5 years, 3 to 5 years. They're gonna go with the two-team expansion, make it interesting. So what's it called, rivalry? Soccer over in Europe, that rivalry, and they're gonna want the same thing for the NFL because and it's gonna be a little bit more intense because you're actually got the guys contacting it. Come on, those Europeans are gonna be off the chain. They're going to be it's going to bring in so much more money for the NFL that it's just going to be a game changer. And soon, probably not when we're alive, NFL is just going to be like probably close to soccer and everything because it's gaining speed. You can see that happening. Like, they just started going to, doing international games. As you said, in 19, they were already pre-selling jerseys. What's that telling you? They already got a game plan. They already know.
What do you think, Ken?
See, I'm seeing that when they put the international teams in, which I don't see them just doing one. That to me is just too unbalanced. I see it being somewhere in between 5 and 10 years to get them in, because it's still, they might have been putting in the groundwork now, but it's still going to take a bunch more to get all this stuff built up, work out all the logistics of it, because I don't think this is going to be something that's just handled in an off season of okay, hey, here's how we're going to do it, like how they do the schedule. And even then, with the schedule, that still takes a while hammering everything all out. So that's going to be a big deciding factor with it. Now,
I'll give Joe. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now with going to like a full soccer style with it, I think that's going to be a ways away.
No, that's decades. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if I see it, I will be an old ass man. Right?
Joe couldn't be on with us, but here's his take. Joe says, I could see a 4-team expansion, one in Mexico City, one in Canada, one in London, and one in Germany. I agree that it's going to be an even number, whatever they do. I'm thinking initially 2 teams makes some sense, and I think also the AFC, NFC, one in each makes sense because if we just do one, let's say you do a Mexico City and a London, you can't do it that way because let's say the London team's NFC. Well, the NFC team's like, wait, this isn't fair. We've got to go to London. AFC teams go to Mexico, really? So that's why I think you see 2 European cities or 2 European teams off the bat, one AFC, one NFC. So now you can't have one conference say, well, we have to be the ones who go all the European games. It's not fair. Well, now you both do. And as far as Canada and Mexico City, I think Mexico City, like I said, I think the World Cup is going to have an impact on that as far as safety. If the NFL sees that it can be done safely there with NFL players, NFL fans coming in, because the World Cup is going to be a test of that, right? And so if the crime goes down and everything else, I think the NFL would strongly consider NFL, but that's the World Cup's 2 years or 4 years, 2 years out. Wait, yeah, 2 years out. So we'll see what happens there. And the thing with Canada, I think that with the CFL being there, I agree with Nick. With the CFL being there, I don't see the NFL though expanding into Canada because the CFL's there. You could see though, like maybe 2 Mexican teams, because maybe they put one in Mexico City and they put one in Cancun or Cozumel, which are shorter flights, or Monterrey or Puerto Vallarta, one of those areas, and that's a theoretical. The problem with Mexico is the cartel situation down
I was
there.
just about to say, I would love to see the meeting that Roger Goodell has to make with these cartels.
Well,
Right.
it's not that you have to have a meeting. It's like, okay, like for instance, have you ever been to Cozumel, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta? Look, guys, the cartels own all that shit. They own all the stores you buy stuff at. But there's an unspoken thing with the cartels that they don't mess with those places because they have so many legitimate business interests and the government makes so much money there that's why they don't mess with it. But Mexico City is a totally different animal, right? It's not one of those tourist zones like in the Yucatan or Puerto Vallarta or Baja. So I just think Mexico has got some hurdles too. Canada, I think, got hurdles. I think the easiest paths are to London and Munich, and I think you see that within 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Because you've got the net. Because look at the NFL had a 4-game contract for Munich, a 4-year contract. So you got 2 more years of that contract, right? I think when that contract ends, right, NFL Europe begins.
That'd be a smart move.
Yeah. So yeah,
Nick agreeing with you.
yeah. I mean, well, Nick remembers I was on the podcast from Puerto Vallarta. It's a big tourist area. The tourist areas like that would be better than Mexico City, safety wise and everything else. But I think if I'm the NFL, I'm holding off on Mexico City till after the World Cup, because the World Cup is actually going to be played in more cities in Mexico than just Mexico City. So now it lets me look at Monterrey. It lets me look at some of these other sites in Mexico as a possible destination for an NFL franchise. Remember, you're going to have NFL players who are going to have to live in these cities from basically end of June through January, February timeframe. So most of the year, may live there full time. So I don't know if Mexico City is a place for these guys, these high value targets to live.
Yeah.
So
you have a Tom say you got a Tom Brady or an Aaron Rodgers type of a guy there.
Yeah.
Tell me that sumbitch is not going to have to hire his own paramilitary force.
So
yeah. And not even just regular security. You want special forces guys or people with combat experience.
I think that becomes your biggest problem with a team in Mexico right now. Nick says, "Oh, he's got another one." NFL Club create a team in California, call it Mexico. Like, no, no. The closest you could do with that was San Diego, and they lost their franchise. I mean, look at city like if the Bears move to Arlington Heights, they're still the Chicago Bears. The Lions don't play in downtown Detroit. right? Their stadium's outside the city limits. They,
Yeah.
you know, I mean,
Yeah, I was going to say the Giants.
the Giants
play in the damn
Jets
state.
they don't even play in the damn state. They're in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I
And the
mean,
Giants, right?
Yeah, I
That's-
mean, very few teams. I mean, Tampa doesn't play in downtown Tampa. You know, I mean, so very few teams play the downtown of the city they claim. Yeah, you know, Vegas actually does. But yeah, you know, I don't think they could do. I think they'll go to Europe. I think Europe is a call, and hopefully we'll get to see the schedule for that soon because I know the Bears are involved this year, going overseas. And I guess we'll save this other stuff we had here for tomorrow, Ken.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. We ended up going off the rails a little bit, but it was still football related.
Yeah, well, we just went into a topic that we actually, and it was NFL topic versus our team specifics. There is a couple things we can talk about our teams tomorrow, but the Bears are definitely in this conversation about international football because we are going to Europe this year for an away game. And then there's a couple other things I want to talk about in terms of the Bears, not player personnel wise, but NFL wise, because the Bears are one of 3 teams that can be on Hard Knocks. So I'll preface for tomorrow saying this: the Bears are theoretically going to be on Hard Knocks. They're going to be going to Europe, and they could theoretically be on in-season Hard Knocks as well if they're having a really good season, i.e., like the Dolphins did this year. Because for in-season Hard Knocks, they want to take a team, that is going to generate viewership. It could be playoff bound, and that could be the Bears. And considering, I don't know if there's a rule that says if you're on preseason Hard Knocks, you don't have to be on in-season Hard Knocks. But the players will already be used to it. The apparatus will already be there. So if the Bears are, let's say, having a good season, looking like a playoff team, it'd be a no-brainer. But so there's some other non-player stuff we can talk about tomorrow in terms of Hard Knocks, in-season, preseason. But I think this European football talk is a good topic for today without much going on player movement-wise. And we can sit there, we can rehash the same. Look at all these other shows are rehashing the same. Is Fields going to be the quarterback? Is Caleb Williams going to be the quarterback? Is Hutchinson going to be the guy? Are they going to re-sign Hutchinson? Are they going to give Amon St. Brown more money? Are they? We can all talk the same BS everyone's been talking for the last 3 weeks. I think this is a better discussion for us because it's something that people aren't paying attention to and need to because we do have our teams going to Europe quite often. There is going to be an expansion to Europe. I think that all 3 of us are in agreement that's going to happen within the next 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, definitely will.
And we had some really cool team names in the comments. Yeah. Also in the comments, look at we had some good ones for London. If Munich, well, I think they'll be Bayern Munich, AFC is what they would call the team. Let us know in the comments. If you think that the NFL Europe teams will adopt more of a soccer naming convention in Europe. Or will they go with like an NFL naming convention, like the Munich Barons or
that's what I think more is that like how you had with the American soccer clubs, they're kind of having a little bit of the European influence on it. I think we're going to have some American influence on the naming. Yeah.
Oh, come on, man. Nick, you hurting me. Yo, I didn't want to watch my Falcons at the end of the season either, but I did. So
and you want to see a Falcons fan learn something today? Hey Dom, did you know there's a letter in your little Falcon behind you? Move your head over so you can see the Falcon. Did you see the hidden letter in your logo?
Don't give me that elbow crap.
No, there's a hidden letter in there.
I don't see it. I'm sideways, so I can't see it.
Okay, if you go from the beak to the left, go down. Next line, hang a right. And go back down. There's a hidden F in the Falcon.
Oh shit, I see it.
I thought everybody realized that one.
No,
because my mind keys in
You
on
can
that
come
type
back
of
up.
stuff.
That's
Don, you
crazy.
come back
That's,
up.
that's,
No,
that's
no,
crazy.
you
Oh my
can't.
God.
Stay off camera, damn it.
Right? Like, I've been looking at this damn logo for years too, and I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about the naming conventions the NFL might adopt in NFL Europe, and we'll give this a few more minutes, and then we'll be about the hour and a half mark, and we'll call it a day. So let's finish out the last 10 minutes or so with some naming conventions. What about some? I don't know. What else would we think would be some appropriate team names for either a London team or a Munich team, if
Now,
not the soccer naming convention?
this one again is kind of shoehorned because it would work more for basketball, but the Munich Hops.
Yeah, because of the beer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that would work
think
great for Oktoberfest.
Huh?
And that would work great. In fact, I will guarantee you right now, if Munich gets a franchise, I already know who their beer sponsor is. It'll be Polliner. Seriously, that will be their beer sponsor. It's they're brewed in Munich. They're also the sponsor for all the Bayern teams. Polliner would be the sponsor. Yep. The Berlin Wall.
Yeah.
If Berlin were to get a team, yeah, the Berlin Wall.
That would be awesome.
That would be funny.
The London Redcoats.
Oh my God!
Yo, we going back.
You would have every NFL team trying to beat the snot out of them every single play with that name.
Politically
have Boston
speaking,
and New England and both New York teams.
Oh God, yeah. Politically speaking, that's a bad one too because that doesn't work.
See, that's what I want. I want something. Yeah.
The Patriots versus the Redcoats, right?
Oh my God, could you imagine the hate that would generate between both fan bases?
Because the Patriots got a fucking Redcoat on too. Oh my God.
Yeah. That I don't know if that would necessarily work, but okay.
No, that won't work.
You can't tell me that it wouldn't make it interesting.
I go to all their games.
Now, Munich, though, also the other big beer in Munich, HB Hoffenbrau is out of. That's where all they got. Oh, their restaurants are awesome. That's another possible beer sponsor, but probably Polliner. So if I'm off track there, the London Bulldogs we heard already, Nick. You were too busy sleeping to hear that one earlier. Your battle buddy Raider fan gave us that one.
No, British Bulldogs was Rob's
Was it Joseph? Oh, was it? Okay. I thought it was Joe's. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you have some interesting. I think we have some interesting names. I mean, you have to kind of think about maybe other things that the areas might be known for, an animal that's prevalent there. Some interesting though, but Munich is a harder one.
Munich, like
the Tokyo Bombers. Jeez, Nick is, okay, when I want, Nick is the king of politically incorrect names. Because why don't you just call them the Hiroshima A-bombers?
No, see that would be the play we'd have to run against them.
Yeah, right.
Oh, these names are going to get us all canceled. Those probably don't work.
If we went to Australia, tell me you wouldn't want to see them name the Fighting Kangaroos or some shit like that. That wouldn't be cool.
They would name them the Roos. It'd be like they would be the Roos. And that would. But you know what? The Australians they would love that. They call their soccer team the Soccer Roos because they call soccer. So Australia is another country that calls it soccer, not football. There are a few countries outside the U.S. that call it soccer, and they call the Australian national team the Soccer Roos. So they would most definitely be the Sydney Roos. For sure, they would do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, they would for sure do that. But we're getting some good politically incorrect names here.
I was going to say very bad one.
Call them the Pharaohs.
Yeah.
Okay, that one's okay.
Yeah.
London, you call them the London Bridge. We already had that one. The London Tower, okay. I think I'm sure they would have a better naming ideas. we're a bunch of Americans trying to think of European.
Right.
I mean, if we're going for politically incorrect, does that mean that the London team is going to end up running the air raid system?
Oh God. Oh, but you know what though? You could go with the London Spitfires, and that pays homage to World War II Royal Air Force with the Spitfires holding off
Hey,
the
Nick.
Germans, but
You leave that one out of this. You leave us and our greasy pepperoni out of it.
Free pizza with every game you go to.
there you go. So, I mean, you know what I mean? You know what though? These other cities, I could see. I don't know about Asia. I'm sure it's in the plans at some point, but right now it's obviously Europe. I mean, I think with the next 2 to 5 years, I'm saying more too. I think we see a team in Munich, we see a team in London. Those just make the most sense, and then maybe a couple years after that, Barcelona, because now we're going to Barcelona for a game.
Yeah.
So you can see Barcelona, maybe Paris.
Yeah.
That's a nice city.
Well, and the thing is too, looking at what the NFL is doing, they're looking at cities that are easy air travel wise. Munich, you can catch direct flights from every major city in the U.S. London, you can catch direct flights from every major city in the U.S. for the or at least from the East Coast, right? Even from Chicago, you can get direct flights to Munich, to London, Atlanta, you can, Philly, you can. I mean, if you look at Barcelona, once again, major city, you can catch a direct flight from basically the Midwest East. I mean, I don't think you're going to get a direct flight from LA to London. I don't know if they have that. Paris is a direct flight, whereas maybe some of the other French cities are not. Like Marseille would be a great site, but you probably aren't getting a direct flight to Marseille, but you can get one to Paris. And then, of course, with Paris, with PSG playing there, you've already got a great stadium there. They could share with PSG, and that would help PSG because I'm sure PSG would own this club. Paris Saint-Germain would probably want to own the NFL club there. And then if you go to Barca, once again, if you go to Barcelona, you've got Barca, right? One of the titans of European football. So if you look at the other thing, every one of these cities we're going to has titans of European football established. And odds are one of those titans is going to have ownership of that NFL franchise. If you go to Munich, dude, Bayern is going to own that team. You go to Barcelona, Barca is going to own that team. You go to Paris, Paris Saint-Germain is going to own that team. If you go to London, your ownership is most likely going to be the ownership of one of the Premier League teams. And that one could be a little more complicated, though, because, like, Khan can't do it because he already owns the Jaguars.
Yeah.
Right? So, but you might see something like that. South Africa, I think places like South Africa and Asia are hard to pull off. Nick is saying like South Africa would be probably pretty hard to pull off, but places like South America, Africa to a degree, and Asia are going to be hard to pull off because you're talking 12, 15, 16-hour flight times. So that's another reason why Europe makes sense, though, because from the East Coast, like from Philly, Orlando, New York, London's 5 or 6 hours.
For a flight.
Think about it. If you're the Miami Dolphins, your flight time to London is an hour different than your flight time to LA.
Yeah, but for those LA teams and like the Seahawks too, that's going to be a bitch of a flight for them.
Well, but once again, with the schedulers though, okay, so if I want to make Seattle go to London, I'm going to they're going to do it on a bye week. And look, we've seen this happen with the mini bye. So let's say, Seattle in, let's say, week 5 plays Thursday night football, right? So then week 6, they play London, and they're on their bye week 7. So they had the mini bye, a London game, and then a bye. Oh, geez. Okay, Nick, we're going to have to ban you for making comments here pretty soon. You're going to get us canceled and in Facebook jail. Jesus. But I mean, so that's why Europe makes more sense. I think, though, like we talk about these other locations, though, you're talking when you get more like to that 50-year plan where it's a global sport with with confederations, regional confederations, national teams, national associations, And I think that's where, because look at the NBA is kind of getting there now with basketball, right? If you look at FIBA, you've got an Italian basketball league, you got a German basketball league, you got a British basketball league. They're not as big as the NBA. You've got a Japanese basketball league, a Chinese basketball league.
Philippines.
So they're definitely more international. Yeah, down in South America, you got Argentinian,
Brazilian, and all of
Brazilian. So I think the NFL wants to move that way, and they could be there within a decade or two. But I think the NFL the game is a little bit harder than basketball. Is an easy game. You need a ball and a hoop, which is cheap. It's a low cost game. Soccer is a low cost game. Baseball is a low cost game. Football is a high cost game, comparatively speaking, equipment wise, especially.
Yeah.
So I think it takes longer for football to pull off, but I think Europe is primed. I think Europe is ready, and it gives us a good place to stop for tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll talk about the Hard Knock situation, some of the other NFL offseason stuff. If some player stuff happens, I think we'll talk about that. But I mean, tomorrow, we can talk about some of the other NFL wide things, Hard Knocks and stuff like that. Now watch. Now that we've talked about NFL Europe, watch. They're going to drop something about NFL Europe today.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, is Nick trying to redeem himself comment-wise? Yeah, he has. Stretching basketball to all these countries has really helped preserve the NBA. It definitely has. Yep. And I think it does the same for the NFL. It does the same. Look at Nick. We tell Nick we're going to ban him, and he redeems himself. So hey, we'll call it a day, guys. As always.
Yeah, give your guys' advertisements then, and then I'll run the video and end it.
Yeah, just hey, be here again tomorrow for Ken and Ken Morning Football Talk Show. Tomorrow being a Thursday, Dominic will not be with us. Correct? You're off on Thursday.
I will not be here Thursday. I will be back Friday.
You'll be back Friday, and don't forget Saturday and Sunday House Hall Report at 7 p.m. Saturday, 11:30 on Sunday. And Ken.
All right.
The Frozen Tundra Network. Like and share our page on Facebook and Instagram. And, of course, we got Bill, the Packer fan, who's always been here with us. And now we have Packers News 24/7 for all of your Packers news, highlights, and updates. One of our newest pages, PackerBacker News. They have a morning show every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Central Time. Go check them out. And as everybody knows, we have the Frozen Tundra Network podcast on the Northeast Streaming Sports Channel that is live every Saturday and Monday